Our top focus today, probe into the Sandalwood drug case turns political now. As Vivek Oberoi's brother-in-law there is still untraceable, Maharashtra government questions the NCB for not acting against Vivek Oberoi and producer Sandeep Singh, who worked together on Prime Minister Modi's biopic. The Maharashtra Home Minister now asks for NCB to investigate into Vivek Oberoi's role in the drug nexus. Let's take a look at this report.
As Sandalwood drug probe deepens, actor Vivek Oberoi now finds himself in the middle of the sensational case. As former Karnataka minister's son and Vivek Oberoi's brother-in-law Aditya Alva continues to be absconding for over 40 days. Maharashtra's Home Minister has leveled a big charge against the Narcotics Control Bureau.
फिर से ये निवेदन जो विवेक ओबेरॉय जो भारतीय जनता पार्टी के स्टार प्रचारक है, जिन्होंने और संदीप सिंह जो बहुत ही नजदीक है देवेंद्र जी फडणवीस इनके, ऐसे विवेक ओबेरॉय और संदीप सिंह इनका जो ड्रग कनेक्शन है, जिसकी जांच करने बेंगलोर की पुलिस यहाँ पे आई है, लेकिन एनसीबी अभी तक इसकी जांच नहीं कर रही है.
Congress, which is also part of the Mahavikas Aghadi government, too has demanded probe against the actor. In 2019, Vivek Oberoi worked with the producer Sandeep Singh for his PM Modi biopic. On Thursday, Vivek Oberoi's Mumbai residence was raided by Bengaluru crime branch after they received a tip-off that the absconding Aditya Alva might be hiding there. The Bengaluru crime branch has also summoned Vivek's wife, Priyanka Alva Oberoi, asking her to appear before it on October 21st. This is the second time Priyanka has been summoned in the case. On October 16th, she failed to acknowledge the summons and did not appear before the crime branch. In the Sandalwood drug case, more than 15 people have been arrested so far, including Kannada film actresses Ragini Dwivedi and Sanjana Galrani. But Aditya Alva, who allegedly used to organize drug parties at his posh property, House of Life, has been untraceable and the cops' hunt for him continues. Bureau Report, India Today.
We heard what Home Minister of Maharashtra had to say. He says that Vivek Oberoi's role in the drug racket needs to be investigated. But what's the need for Vivek Oberoi to be investigated by the NCB here? I have with me joining us guest KV Dhananjay, who's a Supreme Court advocate. Joining us also is Daniel Fernandez, our political analyst, to give us a perspective. Let me quickly also introduce Tuhin Sinha, who's also the BJP spokesperson here. I'll cut across straight to Tuhin Sinha. Tuhin, here is the Maharashtra government, particularly the Home Minister Anil Deshmukh, who asked for Vivek Oberoi as well as Sandeep Singh, who's the producer to the film of on Prime Minister Modi, his biopic. They should be investigated into the drug nexus. Why so, do you think, is the Maharashtra government pushing for this? Pushing for Vivek Oberoi particularly to be investigated right at the time when Prime Minister Modi's biopic, enacted by Vivek Oberoi, releases in theatres?
Well, as you are aware, it's first of all, the Home Minister does not have a jurisdiction over here because it's a case being investigated by the Bengaluru Police. But then the present Home Minister of Maharashtra, Anil Deshmukh, is a man of zero credibility. He has presided over one failure after another, starting with the lynching of sadhus in Palghar, to the complete gross mismanagement, whether it was of the COVID crisis or the Sushant Singh death mystery. He has presided over illegality when it comes to the illegally ransacking the property of Kangana Ranaut. So I don't really think he needs to be taken seriously. I would advise him to focus on the job.
Considering the NCB right now is pulling up several names, including that of Deepika Padukone, you have Sara Ali Khan, you have several other actresses particularly, who've been pulled up and investigated for a mere message ages ago that they had a message exchange. Here is Vivek Oberoi's wife, who's been summoned by the Bengaluru crime branch. Her brother Aditya Alva is currently absconding, and he's one of the accused in the Sandalwood drug racket. Don't you think the NCB, ideally, as per the request of the Maharashtra government, should be investigating and checking on Vivek Oberoi's role, if at all they're shielding his brother-in-law?
So if the NCB is investigating, that's entirely the domain of NCB. That is precisely why the NCB has been constituted. Does the Home Minister of Maharashtra report to the NCB? I mean,
well, the Home Minister has made a request to the NCB. Do you feel the NCB should take it up?
The Vivek Oberoi, first of all, does not have a direct involvement. His brother-in-law's name may have cropped up in some indirect way for which investigation is already on by the Bangalore police. For the Home Minister of Maharashtra to simply jump in out of conjecture is the most irresponsible thing to do. Is there any shortage of work or responsibility? Is Maharashtra all right now? Just now, the journalist of one of your adversary channel has been illegally detained. I think he should focus on the job at hand. He should show some ethics instead of making absurd statements based entirely on conjecture.
Let me quickly cut across to Daniel Fernandez, who's a political analyst. Daniel, take us through what you think is Maharashtra's intention here, considering that Vivek Oberoi, he's so far been a clean man. His name hasn't cropped up in the Sandalwood scandal, or for that matter, for the drug nexus, the Bollywood drug nexus, which the NCB is probing into. But because his brother-in-law is on the run, here's the Maharashtra government pushing for Vivek Oberoi. And not just Vivek Oberoi, even Sandeep Singh was the producer to the film made on Prime Minister Modi, a biopic on him. So don't you think this is clearly political if you really look at it, seemingly?
No, absolutely. Everything is political, particularly where drugs and Bollywood really goes. But yesterday there was a strange incident because the Bangalore police landed at Vivek Oberoi's house and they questioned the family for a few hours. And they had come to find his brother-in-law. Now, we have become a nation of insinuations and, allegations, and we see every industry with a certain prism. And a lot of people from the film industry under scanner. Now, when BJP asked for, the investigations into the conduct of some actors, which are directly, indirectly, remotely connected to drug situations or alleged drug situations, this is exactly what the Congress and the NCP and the government of Maharashtra is going to do. And they have requested the NCB to probe the role of Vivek Oberoi, which was started by the Karnataka government in that case. So this is in continuation of what's happening.
The
about the timing of the whole thing.
What Aditya asks is if the Karnataka police can come all the way to Mumbai and raid Vivek Oberoi's premises and check if at all brother-in-law is there at his residence, why can't the NCB really probe into that angle at all?
No, I'm sure the NCB will have its way and look into the matter. The only thing is that the NCB's probe in Maharashtra has become a probe that hangs the Maharashtra government and the Bombay police. As a Home Minister, he is trying to defend his own people, distract attention and go about seeking. But seeking probe into this matter is not something that anybody can deny him. He is seeking a probe. He's put a request to the NCB that Vivek Oberoi should also be investigated. Now it's up to the NCB whether if they are fair enough to go ahead and do a probe against.
Let me quickly cut across to
Vivek
KV Dhananjay here, who's a Supreme Court advocate. We heard so far, Mr. Dhananjay, that this is tit for tat. Is what it appears to, is what more or less Daniel has said. Here, if you go by legal implications, now considering Vivek Oberoi has absolutely no role in the drug scandal, his brother-in-law has been absconding. Brother-in-law has also not been proven to be guilty or being a crucial element in the drug nexus in Sandalwood. He's just been accused, considering he used to host parties in Bengaluru where people did drugs in those parties. He's not guilty as yet. He's just been accused so far, but he's not honored the summons. He's been absconding for 43 days now. If at all, Vivek Oberoi is shielding his brother-in-law, if at all, hypothetically, if this is a situation, what is the legal implication here, would you say?
Well, to start with, it would be a crime for anybody to shield an accused. Now, Mr. Alva is an accused at this point of time. The police in Bangalore is on the lookout for him. So I think when they've issued summons to dozens of people and almost all of them have answered those summons, and you have one individual not answering it, and this one individual seems to be connected to certain other individuals, then I think it was quite legitimate on the part of the Bangalore police to have gone over to Mumbai or to wherever else they might have thought this Alva might have been in hiding. So one cannot find fault with that. But the public has been watching television over the last 3-4 months, and I think they are all being given very frivolous standards. When someone has allegedly consumed some drug, and it's a big offense, and so on and so forth. You see, the law about consumption is, as we have already discussed, is so very different. The NDPS Act sometimes sympathizes with consumers. And that's the reason why consumers get far less punishment of between 6 months or 1 year, depending upon the kind of drug that they've allegedly consumed. Whereas people who traffic, people who supply those drugs to them get punishment, that's much higher, sometimes even up to 20 years, based on the quantity that is alleged to have been trafficked. But nevertheless, you look at the public narrative that's happened over the last 3 or 4 months is that people who consume these drugs are devils and demons and so on. Now, you had a leading actress in Bollywood who was haunted for that one insignificant message that said, "Mal hai kya?" Well, if politicians would want to capitalize on that, then it is only to be expected that politicians on the opposite spectrum would also want to capitalize on the fact that Mr. Vivek Oberoi's place was searched, because the search was legitimate, the search was lawful, and it is generally expected that when someone is absconding, the police would go after his powerful relatives to find out if the person that's absconding is hiding somewhere there, because it's an offense for a person to shield another. The offense is in 201, 202, 203 of the Indian Penal Code. So what we find is that the public narrative is so very different from the situation in our law book. So the public gets to hear that, oh my God, someone's consumed at some point of time in the past 4 years, he or she is a demon. But in that event, if that is a standard by which the public must in fact think, then it also makes sense for politicians in Maharashtra to say that Mr. Vivek Oberoi's house has just been searched. He's previously acted in a PM biopic. Maybe he's got connection. He should be probed by the NCB. I think that seems like legitimate when you consider that the standard itself is frivolous. But I think the public should know that what drug or substance is prohibited by law is largely a political question. There are two drugs which are not really prohibited by the law.
Let me hold that right there. Tuhin, you heard what the advocate said. Perceiving that Vivek Oberoi, considering he's done a biopic on the Prime Minister, he has political connections, therefore he can very conveniently shield his brother-in-law. That's the perception. So why not the NCB investigate? Considering the BJP has always, all along, during the Sushant Singh Rajput case, the BJP has all along said that Mumbai is a haven, Bollywood is a haven for drugs. It should be cleansed and this should be the start. Why not Vivek Oberoi be investigated then?
The point is, first of all, we don't know conclusively in what context his brother-in-law's name cropped up, which the Bangalore
He's accused
police
number 6 in the Sandalwood drug racket.
No, so what was he a party to it? Was he procuring? We don't know it yet, which is what the Bangalore police is carrying its investigation on. And I have
the Bangalore police has spelled out the charges already.
If the Bangalore police can come
right,
to
Mr. Dhananjay, what are the charges? If you can tell us what is he guilty of? That's what Mr. Tuhin is asking. What's he guilty of? As far as we know, he has organized parties. But does that make him guilty of being part of a drug nexus?
I think that the Bangalore police will shield him. If the Bangalore police can travel to Mumbai to raid his house, to search his house, the Bangalore police can also take the next steps if required.
Okay, now the charge against Mr. Alva is rather very serious.
On this issue
it's not just about, the charge against Mr. Alva is very serious. It's not just about personal consumption, it's far more. It's about, trafficking in commercial quantity, and more than anything else, he's been absconding for several weeks now. And when a person absconds, when he is deemed to have knowledge of the, notice pending against him, the law treats that very, very seriously. And I think it's a very serious issue that he's been absconding for weeks together. And as I did say, the police cannot be faulted for having searched the house of Mr. Vivek Oberoi at all as a matter of law. But then over the last 3 months, who's had this perspective about the law anyway? Everyone's been running on some frivolous perspectives. And I was telling you another thing, which is there are 2 other drugs which cause incalculably more damage and harm. One is tobacco, which kills 15 lakh persons every year. The other one is alcohol. 26 crore Indians are already addicted to it. Now, we see more damage from these 2 substances. The drugs under the NDPS Act, relatively, you could say they are benign. I mean it. And that's the reason why a number of countries have begun to take the problem of drug consumption so seriously. They don't put anybody in jail. They would rather want to, rehabilitate them. They would want to help them. But in India, we picked up a narrative that those who consume these drugs are demons and devils, and look where we are. And
Well,
this is a
this has become
self-inflicted
really
wound.
murky, but what here is surprising is that a person is evading the law. He's evaded summons for 43 days. His brother-in-law turns out to be a top Bollywood star who is now enacting a film on the Prime Minister, a biopic on the Prime Minister. That's precisely why we're looking at politics now. Of course, the Maharashtra government chancing on the opportunity. Daniel, if you can take us through the summons that now, of course, the Bangalore CCB has issued a summons to Vivek Oberoi's wife. She's not honored the summons one round. This is the second round summons that's going out to her. She'll have to be present on Tuesday. What does that really project? And considering that there are allegations that because Vivek Oberoi is doing a biopic on Prime Minister Modi, he is influential, therefore he can evade the law. He is shielding his brother-in-law. He can get away with it. That's the perception.
So that's the whole, they see at the end of the day, today BJP is coming to defend Vivek Oberoi, but this is all that is that they have started in the first place with the Riya murder case, Sushant, Riya drug case, the Sushant alleged murder case, and so on and so forth. What have we become? We are not discussing any important issues. If somebody is related to someone remotely, is being implicated and being showed as if that person is directly involved in a very serious crime. Whether Vivek Oberoi does a biopic of Narendra Modi or Rahul Gandhi, how does it matter to us? He's done a job. That doesn't mean that he's acting. His personal conduct behind the back of these leaders, it has anything to do with these leaders at all. We need to get out of this, this culture of implicating people who are close to a certain leader or a certain party, and allow our
well, here we're talking about
agencies.
Vivek Oberoi being the star campaigner for the BJP, Daniel.
I understand that. But there are many people in the BJP who are doing right. There are many people in the Congress who are doing right.
No, this is not about right and wrong. We're not talking about a larger picture here. Let's zoom into the specific issue that we're speaking about. Tuhin, considering Vivek Oberoi is a star campaigner for the BJP, this is clearly a perception. How would you defend that? Would you encourage the NCB to investigate and probe into Vivek Oberoi's role?
Let me tell you, if Bangalore Police finds anything against him, we will be the first person to ask for investigation against him. But look at the Maharashtra government's whole credibility over here. On the one hand, the same special public prosecutor who was appointed for the Palghar case suddenly jumps in to defend Riya Chakrabarti. Do you really think Riya Chakrabarti could have afforded that lawyer? So on the one hand, they are helping her on the same case, and on the other, they want to conjecture and they want to surmise who are the other people involved in drugs. So I think the Maharashtra government really needs to make up its mind. If it is actually against drug users, it should go against everybody. But let them.
But going against everybody is already happened. You had Deepika Padukone already summoned. You had Shraddha Kapoor summoned. You had Sara Ali Khan summoned. They've been summoned. Here is Vivek Oberoi's brother-in-law in question here, which is why his name drops up. Considering he's also a star
Why were these people summoned? When there is absolutely no evidence against these people of indulging into any drug activity, of buying drugs or consuming drugs, why were these people summoned? And why shouldn't Vivek Oberoi be summoned? Only because he's done a movie for the Prime Minister? Are we saying that? Why shouldn't he be summoned?
First of all, I don't know who all you
What is Deepika Padukone's fault? What is Shraddha Kapoor's fault? Have you seen them taking drugs?
All right. We've taken your word on that, Tuhin and Daniel. Let the Bengaluru Police do its duty. Let the NCB do its duty. A quick word from KV Dhananjay before I wrap here. Mr. Dhananjay, if at all there's any shielding here, if there's any foul play behind this, considering Vivek Oberoi's brother-in-law is still missing, he's not adhered to the summons on Tuesday. Vivek's wife will have to appear before the CCB. If she fails, what is the legal implication? I'm going to take your word and wrap with that.
No, I want to have a last word here.
But they could be, well, if they fail to appear before the police, then they are liable to be arrested, provided they are found physically. So long as they are not available for the police to arrest, I think the police will be on the lookout, and the police may very well raid more places. But if we just roll back the time and see if Deepika Padukone got into trouble, she did get into trouble for what the alleged, and then Sara Ali Khan and then Shraddha Kapoor. I can tell you, if these actresses because these actresses got into trouble for such a frivolous thing from the NCB, whose job is really look at 16 lakh kgs of cannabis. I can tell you, Nabila, every year, India recovers around 16 lakh kgs of contraband cannabis. And the NCB went after something like 200 grams of cannabis in this case. Now, if the NCB, in fact, were to give so much of importance and significance to that, it makes sense when you hear these Maharashtra politicians say that Mr. Vivek Oberoi too should be, investigated in some way or the other. Because probably I think the NCB was harassing these actresses so much. Probably I think people will now want the NCB to equally harass. But as a lawyer, I want to tell you, this is a non-issue. This is absolutely a non-issue. We have far more important things to discuss and to deal with.
Mr. Dhananjay, we're taking your word on that. Thank you very much. Daniel, we are lack of time, but yeah, go on. You have 10 seconds.
Good. One word. I want to just wrap it up in three things. One is that, we have become a nation that is not focusing on serious issues. We have just gone on a witch hunt against celebrities who we see are supporting a certain ideology or a certain party. We've made a full mess of our prosecuting agencies like the Narcotics Bureau, police from either states, whether Bangalore or in Bombay and things like that, and extremely politicized it, and complete drama for television, and in which a lot of innocent people are getting hurt.
Absolutely.
Let us stop this politics and let's stop the joke of prosecuting agents.
Undoubtedly, but nonetheless, this is a serious issue. NCB investigating into the Bollywood drug nexus. Should Vivek Oberoi also be investigated, considering he has a family member who's absconding, who's accused in the Sandalwood drug racket? Or is this just politics because Vivek is playing Prime Minister Modi's biopic? We're going to let you decide on that. Thank you for watching.
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kamal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.